Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I am going to be talking about Christmas shopping in 2020. The reason that I thought I'd talk about Christmas shopping today is because Christmas is different this year for lots of people. Today is supposed to be the first day that I return to the charity shop. Last year I recorded a video in which I talked about how Christmas shopping wasn't so stressful for me last year. I was feeling quite content about it. I knew what I wanted to get for people. I went out, I got it, and Christmas was done. There were a few stressful times when something had been one price on the internet and then I'd seen it in a shop and not bought it, only to get back to the internet and discover the price had now gone up. But then I just went back to the shop and got it, and it was really no incident. I have always maintained that it's a bit easier for me to purchase Christmas gifts because I stick to family members. Now, firstly, let's go back to the sibling situation. My father was something of a tart. So you have my eldest brother who just celebrated his 40th birthday, who is a half brother who has a different mother. Then you have the second eldest brother, who is another half brother who has a different mother from the first half brother. 3 mothers in this situation. And then you have me, who is the first child that my mother ever had and the first child my dad had with my mother. Then my sister and then my youngest brother. So there's 5 of us. Now, the 2 older brothers, this brother here, the second brother, his birthday is on Christmas Eve. Can we point out that Boris had tons of restrictions around everyone's birthdays this year, and then this brother here, who my mother has always called the apple of my father's eye, Boris announces that everyone can start mixing households again. I'm aware it's Christmas Eve and they just happen to coincide, but still, it feels like a sign from above. And I'm not religious. I will stop saying that throughout December, I'm sorry, it comes naturally to me. I don't want people to get this weird opinion about me. I'll never start denigrating anything, don't worry about that, but... And then we have the first brother, who is he's the first brother. He has his own family to be getting on with. So, me and my siblings, the whole siblings, same mother, same father, we don't like to admit it, but we do kind of treat each other a bit differently. Saying that, this brother here, the second brother, he gets on with the 2 younger brothers. It's actually just me. It's just me who's a bit of an outsider, who is a bit of a dick. I just tend to focus on making sure that my sister and my youngest brother are getting loads of presents, because our parents are reliably bad when it comes to purchasing any gifts. Then I just get something simple for the other 2 brothers. The second brother here, because basically he doesn't celebrate Christmas. He never buys anyone any gifts, and the only reason I buy him a gift is because I have a nephew. My nephew is one of my favourite people on the planet, if not my favourite person on this planet, so he deserves a present. So I have to get him something so that it just doesn't look bad and my nephew doesn't get upset with me. And then the eldest brother, I'm just doing it to save face, really. I don't really like to get much for him, just in case, he ends up in a coffin and it's a poor investment, but still. Then I buy for my parents, usually getting my mother more than I get for my father, not because of favouritism, just because my father is notoriously difficult to buy for and my mother will get upset if she doesn't get a lot. Then we move on to my mother's mother, my nan. She gets something. I get something for one of my cousins because a few years ago he was very supportive of my books, and then that filtered into him buying me a special gift. So now I tend to buy him a gift as well, and we're stuck in this weird cycle. I have one writerly friend and another friend who I buy gifts for. I have to buy my manager and one volunteer a gift. And then that's the end of the list. I didn't count that, but what's that? Yeah, it's not a lot of people in the grand scheme of things. I don't know, 5 minutes just telling you who I'm shopping for. Anyway, Christmas shopping is different this year. Why is Christmas shopping different this year? Well, I don't really need to mention it. But basically, most of the shops that I would ordinarily purchase stuff from are closed. One of the big things that me and my mum always like to do from October through to the end of November is, on her day off in the week, we'll go into town, I'll take her for breakfast, or we'll just go for a coffee, and then we wander around the shops. It's something that we have always done. It's a tradition that she used to have with my grandmother, but now my nan's a bit too, well, not elderly. She is elderly, but basically it's difficult to get my nan around the shops now, whereas me and my mother just have a nice meander around town, search for presents, don't necessarily buy anything, but we're browsing, we're getting ideas, and that kind of lifts the mood and adds to the feeling of festivity that I have lost this year. Because a lot of my presents that I purchase will have to come from the internet. Now, again, you can purchase stuff from smaller businesses from the internet. You can do it through using Facebook. Oftentimes they'll accept messages on there. They'll have Instagram profiles. A lot of small businesses have to be big on social media for people to contact them. So you can still support smaller local businesses. That's just one thing. For books, as we know, bookshop.org has arrived in the UK. Most booktubers have an affiliate link. I know that I do. I don't know how it works, but I do have lists of favourite books on there that you can go and peruse, and I have purchased stuff from there myself. Now obviously Waterstones is still there. Waterstones is still got the majority, I think, in the UK. If you do want cheaper books though, I can suggest Blackwell's, because when I bought my entire Thomas Hardy collection from them, they accepted National Book Award tokens, and they also had discounts, so it makes it a bit easier if you were on a budget. So books there. eBay as well for books, that's good. I am currently trying to locate a toy for my nephew that I might have to purchase from eBay, and that makes me feel a bit trepidatious. Again, not sure if that's a word, but I keep using it. When I said before about Christmas shopping and how it's changed and how me and my mother would wander around the shops, I did wonder then whether, to me, I'm making Christmas more about the shopping, whether I'm making Christmas more about the capitalism and the consumerism, and whether if there was none of this having to buy gifts for one another, I would feel as happy. And honestly, a few years ago, I say that I ruined Christmas for myself whilst reading A Christmas Carol and having an existential crisis at 1 o'clock in the morning when I thought about how I like Christmas Day to be this incredibly happy day, and when it's not happy I tend to get disappointed, and that can ruin a whole week for me. And I got rid of that. I was like, why focus so hard on being happy on that one day of the year, and why not bring that happiness to every single day? So I think that I could cope with the lack of the gifts. Like, my family tend to buy each other stuff throughout the year anyway. Well, I say that. I tend to buy people stuff throughout the year anyway. So for me, it's about showing appreciation of another person. So whether the consumerist capitalist structure wasn't there for me to celebrate Christmas, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably have to learn some sort of skill like carpentry or knitting, but I'd still want to show my appreciation in some way, and definitely not through the form of rhythmic gymnastics. Perhaps it's a good thing that Christmas shopping has changed so drastically for 2020, because maybe it will allow people to focus more on what's important for them. I do worry that some people might put themselves into a tiny bit of debt because they'll see good sales online, because that's where their primary focus will be, because it's not a physical object straight away in their hands. They don't know what they've got. But lists are good. Write down on a list. I know I've fallen into the trap before of just buying tons of stuff and then having to allocate it to people because I saw it in a sale. So I find that lists of what you've got for people work really well, especially now that my memory doesn't work as well as it once did. Saying that at the age of 28, can you imagine what it's going to be like in 2 years? I am aware that whilst I am still not one of the most successful rich people on this planet, I am incredibly privileged to be able to purchase gifts for my family. My mother struggles. She shouldn't do with all the work she does, but even with us paying all bills and stuff, there is still the struggle to make sure that there's still a struggle there to be able to get everything that you want to get for people. And I think that there's a sadness that comes from that, because you want to be able to get stuff for people and you can't. And I'm aware that then I do have this privilege where I am able to show my appreciation of people by purchasing things. Now, obviously, these things come with a price limit. And even though I do really like to make sure that my siblings get enough gifts, we still have a price cap and we spend as much on one as we would on the other. There is an air of frugality that always permeates throughout our Christmases, and that is not a bad thing. I still get incredibly shocked when I find out how some people have had Christmases in the past who are maybe somewhat richer than me, or well, definitely richer than me. And I know that Christmas shouldn't be about money, and I know that Christmas shouldn't be about the shopping, and I get all that. And I think that it's unfortunate that that is what seems to be the general thing when people are looking at Christmas or sadness around Christmas, is that we talk about not being able to get people certain gifts. There's a lot of films there that actually lead into how we want to purchase certain things for people at Christmas. We have Jingle Jangle that I watched earlier this week, in which that's all about, like, capitalism, isn't it, really? I mean, if we look at it, it's this guy who, yes, he's a creative and he has his creativity stolen from him, and it's the way that he lives his life. And I appreciate this story that we see told where smaller businesses are being ruined by bigger businesses that have come up behind them. But at the same time, we do have a lot of Christmas films out there which are all about making money, and, you know, they all end up in the end realising that money doesn't buy happiness, and it's not the main focus and the main drive of Christmas. But that's a whole other story. I came here to talk about shopping. So yeah, this year shopping should be easier, but also this year it's allowed me to think more about what Christmas means to me, if one of the things that made me feel festive was being able to go out with my mother and peruse shops. And again, like I say, I do think about less fortunate people quite often, and I always am hoping that things can improve for them and that they're able to celebrate it in a way that they would like to. Of course, there are even people who don't celebrate Christmas at all and would be quite happy for the day to pass on by like any other day. I get that too. It's a strange one. It's a weird season when you get older and you recognise that it's not all about, it's not everything that December is about. It's not everything that the year has to circle around. Like I say, if you remove the shopping, if you remove the gifts, I would be quite happy and content just to get to spend the day with folk that I quite like. We don't go in for overt shows of emotion on these videos. I think the one time I ever got enthusiastic about a book, I did wonder afterwards whether or not to re-record the entire video, because I thought that's too much enthusiasm for a northerner. Anyway, I'm going to disappear now, but I would like to hear your thoughts on Christmas shopping. Do you think it's going to be easier this year because you're just doing it online, or are you finding it more difficult because you can't see something and think how much another person might appreciate that? Do you like Christmas or do you despise it? Will you be celebrating or not? Feel free to unwind and expound all of your stresses in the comments. I hope that you got something out of this video besides sheer confusion, and until next time, that is all.